Bases dropped on a Friday here on Soccer's Morning Show. John here, you there. Welcome to another go around of Soccer Down here. We got stuff to talk about, and there's plenty to play with this morning involving a little breaking news that we can get into coming up in just a little bit. We've got Major League Soccer news. We've got our updates out of Cincinnati that we have to get into, and we'll get into in depth. We've got updates out of Vancouver. And we've got updates out of New England, where I thought something was already officially official. Apparently it's not until yesterday in the news dump and all of the stuff. So basically, as we were paying attention to everything going on in Cincinnati, pay no attention to what's going on in New England. And we end up with a news dump. So news out of New England, plus New England has made their moves this morning. And so we'll try and recap in hour number 2, who's made their postseason moves, who's going where, who's doing what. Morning, Alex. Prem and Proper coming up later today, as a matter of fact. And let's see, what is the rundown? So, of course, I have the thing behind me here. So as we get ready for the weekend in the Premier League, you get to hear from Sean Dyche. That's the breaking news coming up. Analysis of Andre Onana in European competition versus Premier League. You get a Spurs all-injured 11. Eddie Howe and Nick Pope on PSG. Pep on Erling Haaland. Bit of a preview on Spurs and Manchester City. Trossard and Fabio Vieira news for Arsenal. Plus Maddie. She is cruising through the Prem with her Newcastleian perspective on things. And Drew Dickinson is going to try and vent his spleen as best he can when he has time to breathe. So, Bart. And I was gonna, because I had noticed in the tournament for the NCAA, Bart's a very busy man. Lenore Rhine women, WVU men hosting the quarterfinal games this weekend. So remind me in hour number 2 to go through what's going on in the NCAAs as well. So we'll get that squared away, and we'll rock and roll. So busy morning on a bunch of different fronts, and we'll see how much news we can get in when it comes to 2 hours. First off, I apologize for 9:06. I was answering a text from the boss. And when the boss sends you a note, you answer. So there we go. Let me go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and hit this because it's breaking news, even if it's no real surprise. But Everton is going to appeal their 10-point deduction. No real surprise, but once again, it's now officially official. From our friends at the AP, they filed the appeal in the bid to overturn the 10-point deduction. Deduction biggest in sporting sanction in the Premier League's history, dropping Everton into the relegation zone, threatening their status in the top flight. Recapping, the club was found by an independent commission to have made a loss of £124.5 million over 3 years, up to the end of the 21-22 season. Profit and sustainability say you can only lose 105 over a 3-year period. Official word from Everton, it was a paragraph, lodged with the chair, the appeal. Appeal board will now be appointed to hear the case. Looking like that's got to be done, obviously, by the end of the year, because you have the teams that have been relegated who are all going to be looking for financial compensation. And if this appeal does not work, then the point sanction could be worse because of the financial outlay to the teams that are looking what's going on. So you want me to play the other music part? What other music? Hang on. All right. So can we play the short version? Because it's Everton. Hang on. All right. So all right. So I won't do that. So I'm supposed to play the other music. All right, so now I'm playing the other breaking news music. It's just that first track is a longer track. It's like a minute to a minute and a half, as opposed to the stinger here that we play. Everton had said the points deduction was a wholly disproportionate and unjust sporting sanction, does not recognize the finding that it failed to act with the utmost of good faith. Manchester City, reportedly Chelsea, been accused by the League of breaches. City, defending champ, they've got 115 alleged breaches, and that apparently is going to be addressed, at least to the start anyway, by the end of the year. So the end of 24. I think that was what was laid out here. So Manchester City, they're going to be keeping an eye on what's going on. And so that's going to be interesting as well. And interesting stuff out of the Telegraph when it comes to Burnley. We mentioned Everton, Tom Morgan and Chris Bascom. Once again, more than one reporter. You know that it's big. So you've got the appeal and the fast track rules over the summer. Only the most exceptional cases, including the 100-plus charges facing Manchester City, are exempt from a new Premier League rule. Any club charged with a standard financial rule breach must be completed within 12 weeks. So Everton is chasing after that. But in continuation of the multiple reporter story from the Telegraph, change to a specific time frame is to ensure any points deductions apply to the season in which the rule breach takes place. Means accounts for the 22-23 season must be submitted before December 31st instead of March. The two Telegraph reporters went into the knowledge of Everton's business. Well within budget. Departure of Hamas had been a major relief for the wage bill in 21. Over the ensuing year, Richarlison sold, Anthony Gordon sold, Amadou Onana, Dwight McNeil, Neil Maupay arrived. Everton's original deduction centered on interest payable on loans to build Bramley Moore Dock. The club calculated £18 million headroom within spending limits, but the Premier League argued they'd overspent by £8 million. Offset costs amid a global spending squeeze since sanctions brought against then-sponsor and Russian oligarch Alisher Usmanov may have proved costly last season. Usmanov's existing sponsorship deals worth a combined $20 million had already been suspended amid pressure. However, the Uzbek-Russian businessman and oligarch had also been planning to plow further millions into Everton by securing naming rights to the new stadium with a £30 million first refusal agreement in place. He also sponsored the club's training complex in a deal worth $6 million. USM's naming rights agreement with Everton began in 17, up for negotiation in 22. That said, Everton did secure their biggest sponsorship deal to date in June of 22 with Stake.com, the online casino, back in June. Remember, those are going away, at least as primary sponsors on jerseys. Morning, Tom, and morning, Alex. Alex, thank you, Everton, for letting us overpay for Gordon. And yeah, when you quote Kieran Maguire at the University of Liverpool, you know you're really getting into what it's looking at. So we'll hear from Sean Dyche in Prem and Proper. We'll get into Burnley as well, and it ain't pretty. So that's the news out of Everton. Shocking no one, they're appealing the decision. So that's your Evertonian news this morning. MLS yesterday, and what I may do, like I said, if we end up with an appearance from our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring at 9:30, I'll continue the longer story with Cincinnati then, but we'll take care of the shorter news leading up until 9:30. And if our friends from Beyond Goals visit, then we'll get into Cincinnati because that's a long one. That's a long story. It has some development attached to it. We do hear from Pat Noonan yesterday. We did hear from the MLSPA yesterday. And it continues to have salvos launched back and forth in a bunch of different directions over what's going on. And like I said, we'll go over it in depth either at 10 o'clock or at 9:30 this morning. And like I said, in hour number 2, obviously, we've got to take a peek at the conference finals, all the other action going on. So that's the layout of the show. We've got the news. If we get our visit from our friends at Beyond Goals at 9:30, we go there. Hour number 2 is Cincinnati, playoff previews, and all the other stuff. If our friends at Beyond Goals are busy mentoring, then we'll pick up Cincinnati at 9:30. So yesterday in the news department, there was a rather large fine and suspension handed to Vanni Sartini. Suspended for multiple violations of league policy on November 5th following their exit against LAFC. Now, this is the wording from MLS Soccer, Major League Soccer. In the 95th minute, Sartini was shown a red card and dismissed from the game by match officials. Along with the automatic one-match suspension that accompanies a red card, MLS has issued an additional 5-match suspension for his violation of league policies, including entering the field of play in a confrontational manner. I thought he was exiting, but okay. And public criticism following the match, totaling 6 matches overall. Sartini has also been issued a $20,000 fine and must complete a league-approved behavioral assessment and comply with any recommended treatment. Sartini will serve his 1-match suspension for the red card during Vancouver's first match of the 24 regular season, followed by an additional 5 during Vancouver's ensuing regular season games. Based on his compliance with any recommended treatment program, Sartini may petition for a reduction of his suspension. Now remember, after the match, Sartini, this is after they lose 1-0 and they're out of the postseason. Quote, "At the end, we didn't have a fair chance, to be honest, because today, unfortunately, the referee had a bad game." Then Vanni goes into quotes. Also, he says, "I don't understand, to be honest, why he didn't stop play. After a Whitecap corner was cleared," this was when Timothy Ford collides with Alessandro Schopp near the top of the 18. Vela goes downfield on a breakaway. Buanga scores. It was called back by offside. But Sartini, in his post-match after the collision with Ford and Schopp, "I don't understand, to be honest, why he didn't stop play, because every time the referee touches the ball, he stops, gives the ball to the team that was in possession. We were in possession. We lost possession because of him. I don't know why he didn't give us possession immediately." And he also took issue with the first half penalty. He was surprised Mario Gonzalez didn't get a red for a heavy challenge on Takaoka, complained the visitors able to persistently foul. If someone does his job, they give a yellow card to Crepeau in the first half when he was losing time, then to Buanga when he did 2 professional fouls, to Murillo when he made 4 fouls in the game. If someone does his job, then they're not keeping fouling you every time. If you allow them to do it, yeah, that's the problem. Biggest takeaway from the season, where a team that can easily start next season and say that we want to win this thing. Remember, he also mentioned in his post-match press conference the idea that if a referee ended up in the river, that folks would look his way. Not that he would do it, but folks would look his way. That didn't go over well. So Vanni Sartini gets 1 + 5 plus a fine, plus having to attend institutional training and understanding of behaviors. So there's that. So it looks like Michael Parkhurst will be joining us in 10 minutes. So we'll catch up with Cap coming up. And so we'll catch up with Michael Parkhurst in 10 minutes and get his thoughts on a couple of different things. And I want to talk about current issues in Major League Soccer through the prism of mentoring, and so we'll get into that. And if Cap wants to discuss what's going on currently in the league, we'll do that. But yeah, so Michael Parker is joining us in 10 minutes. Roster updates: Nashville and Portland have made their decisions. Once again, free agency starts the Monday of the championships for the GHSA. So we might be doing power hours Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So Sebastian Blanco not returning after his contract expires. Club opened a DP spot by declining Yaroslav Nizhgoda's contract option. Frank Boli is gone after 7-2 in 29 games. So Fogacha contract option exercise, declined. Acosta, Boli, Caliscan, Diego Gutierrez, Miller, Nijgoda, Rasmussen, Blanco out of contract, but they are in discussions with Acosta, David Bingham, and Eric Miller. FC Dallas, Ilara Mendy and Liam Frazier are hanging around. Facundo Guignon and center back Jose Martinez both had their contract options declined. No word on O'Brien and Jimmy Maurer. Ongoing discussions. O'Brien had 17 and 13 in 94 regular season matches. Maurer's backed up Martin Peiss, who's among the 25 under contract. So, contract options exercised. Indeli, Frazier, Iloramendi, Junqua, and Shiki and Sabalang. Declined. Martinez, Guignon, Colin Smith in discussions with Ahmed Korsha, Jimmy Maurer, and Jader O'Brien. Nashville. Dax McCarty, Fafa Pico, both out of contract and eligible for free agency. McCarty, 36. Pico, 32. Most of the decisions from there on are depth pieces. Exercised, Bauer and McNaughton. Declined, Kemi Amici, Nick DePuy, Tyler Freeman, Ahmed Longmire, Nebi Perry, Lawrence Wyke, Ethan Zuback out of contract, Luke Hawkinson, Dax McCarty, Fafa Pico. All caps made their decisions. 25 players under contract. Sam Adeniran, Aziel Jackson had their contract options exercised. Pompeu and Yarrow also retained. Expansion draft selections, Jonathan Bell and John Nelson, no relation. Both out of contract, available in the year-end waiver draft. Pedro and Isak Jensen remained out on loan to European clubs. Now they also have all caps also have a DP slot that's open. So, exercised. Adeniran, Bartlett, Aziel Jackson, Markanich, Pompeu, Jared Stroud, Akil Watch, Josh Yarrow. Declined, Michael Creek and Max Schneider. Out of contract, Jonathan Bell, John Nelson, no relation. Colorado, and Chris Armas had his first press conference with the masses and the media. So we'll get into that, too, probably in hour number 2. Jack Price, Diego Rubio gone. Price captain, Rubio 53 career goals. William Yarborough also saw his contract option declined, but they remain in conversation with him, as well as homegrowns Oliver Loraz and Sebastian Anderson, after those two did really well for Rapids 2 in Next Pro. 24 under contract. Exercised. Gutman, Calvin Harris, and Ralph Priso. Declined. Anderson, Sebastian Anderson, Betashore, Loraz, Price, Abraham Rodriguez, Vallecilla, and William Yarborough out of contract. Louis Diaz and Diego Rubio. The loan expired on Danny Leyva. They're in discussions with Anderson, Loraz, and William Yarborough. So that's where we are with updating folks about who's gone, who's staying, and all of that. Now, yesterday in New England, do you remember? Do you remember the insights of Cardinalfo? When all of the stuff was going on involving Bruce Arena and assistant coaches and you know what to talk about and what are we focusing on? Do you remember the wisdom of Cardinalfo?
I appreciate it. Appreciate the time, guys. Brian, just to start with you, you said about 20 minutes ago, quote, as everyone can imagine, this is a difficult time for Richie. What do you mean when you say this is a difficult time for Richie? And to Kurt, do you feel when this all passes, you would like to tell your side of the story here?
I mean, in terms of Richie, you know, there's just been a lot written about Richie. And so, you know, when you're being talked about publicly, that's always a difficult situation, you know, for people who are in this building, you know, they're in this sport because they love the sport. They love being around the guys. They love coaching. They love the fans. You know, they love doing just what their job is. And you know, when they have to answer questions or be in the media or being talked about for other reasons, I think that's just always stressful and difficult for anyone. And so, you know, I think that's really what I'm talking about when I say it's been a difficult time for Richie.
You know, and to answer your question, I was asked, you know, I first of all, I didn't ask to be in this position. I was put in this position. And I embrace it. The Crafts and Brian have asked me to lead this organization through a very, very difficult time. And I have enormous experience. I'm extremely confident. I love the people in this building. I love the owners. I love our staff. And my side of the story is to make a very difficult situation into a great one. And we have that opportunity. So that's what we're thriving on, is can we, through all this noise and the stuff that none of us asked for this, but to drive forward and to make something out of it. And that's the message that we're telling our players. And they are an incredible group of human beings. And I just tell you, watch out, because they are united, as we are as a staff and an organization, and from ownership all the way through. And it's time to get out there and play and stop talking about all the baloney. It is noise, right? We're going to focus on winning.
Stop focusing on the baloney. Brian Bolello, team president, was the other voice that you heard there in that blast from the past. But Bolello and Curt Onalfo are going to be having a press conference coming up top of the hour. And it will be with Curt Onalfo having been named sporting director with the New England Revolution. So that happened official yesterday. Top Soccer Post is sporting director overseeing the Revs soccer operations, player personnel, scouting, and player development. So Bolello and Onalfo are going to be sorting through the baloney coming up at the top of the hour in New England as they try to work through their next steps. And they have made their player moves. First thing that they did out of the blocks was permanent transfer of Tomas Shankalai. That was big. Getting Shankalai under the tent, that was big. Revolution also exercised options on 6 to bring the roster to 27, 17 returning players. Guaranteed contracts by Bayraktarovich, Bulma, Barrero, Buck, by Earl Edwards Jr., DeJuan Jones, Mark Anthony Kay, Kessler, Tommy Mack, Nacho Heel, Jack Panayotu, Polster, Romney, Vatslik, Brioni, and Bobby Wood. Exercised the 1-year option on Andrew Farrell, Carlos Heel, Jacob Jackson, Damian Rivera, and defender Ryan Spalding. Club also exercised the 2-year contract option on Ian Harkes, guaranteeing the midfielder's contract for 24 and 25. Exercised the club purchase option on Shankalai from Racing Club, signing the 24-year-old as a DP through the 26 season with a club option for 27. Did not exercise the contract options on Emmanuel Boateng, Maciel, Christian McCoon, Ben Ravino, and Ben Sweat. 3 players out of contract: Gustavo Bo, Omar Gonzalez, Justin Renix. Any of the above players could return to the club on new agreements. 3 new homegrown players also set to join in 24. Peyton Miller at 16. You remember him from Revs 2, going up against Atlanta United 2. Thiago Suarez and Malcolm Fry, both 18, available for competition. All 3 regular starters for Revs 2 and MLS Next Pro last year. So that is the roster decisions for the New England Revolution. And we'll see how they look with their spots available coming up in 24. Another piece of news, and I doubt very seriously there might be tickets. It'll be, you have to travel, but Inter Miami is going to face the El Salvadoran national team during the 24 preseason. January 19th at Estadio Cuscatlan in preparation for an exciting 2024 campaign. Friday, January 19th for the first preseason match of 2024. So Inter Miami has decided that they're going to start their season off against the El Salvadoran national team. Okay. Sure thing. Just that was random. When that popped up, that was random. That's the only other word I can think of. And I know that as we've been mentioning what's been going on with other teams, morning, Abby. Tom will get into what happened in Europa League and Conference League in hour number 2. And, Aubameyang with Marseille and Ajax. That was big. Abby sitting there and let's see, where was it, Abby? Why is it that I end up getting signed jerseys from Children's Healthcare of Atlanta that end up being players who leave? Joseph, and this year I got Miles. And then I see all of you are having the discussion amongst yourselves, which I really enjoy, that you guys want to have the conversations and the back and forth about Atlanta United and their roster. Does that sound like thunder blasting of some sort? You hear it across the highway? Nope. I don't know what's going on with the thunder and all that kind of stuff. I have no idea. I'm not hearing any thunder. Of course, I'm not really near a highway, so I'm kind of out and away from all of you. Once again, before I forget, remember, we're reissuing the Atlanta is American soccer scarf for the holidays. This is part of a 2-step process to help out our friends at the Marshall Islands. We're reissuing this. I'm going to be getting a large box of these coming to Office HD very soon. Abby has graciously said that she would take the Abstermobile on one of its last rides and help out with shipping, but we're going to do 25 and 5 for this. And the other project we'll hopefully have some details on in short order. But once again, remember, we're reissuing the Atlanta is American soccer scarf. Nope, no thunder explosions here. Yes. Yeah, Michael and I are about an 8-iron apart, maybe a 9-iron apart. So we ain't hearing nothing. But once again, we're reissuing these 25 and 5, or if the Abstermobile does all of the work for us domestically as best it can, as long as it holds up. But once again, 25 and 5, we're reissuing the Atlanta is Soccer City, American Soccer. We're reissuing that for the holidays and helping out our friends at the Marshall Islands. So, okay. So this would be why, because Alex and Abby live in like Cobb County. So I don't know what's going on, but apparently today is supposed to be pretty crappy weather. And all I'm going to say is dress warmly, dress dry, and stay indoors. You wake up and it was one of those mornings where you're just kind of sitting there and you're going, I don't know if I want to get out of bed, because you hear the rain and it's cold and you're under the blankets and you're just kind of like, I am not interested. Yeah, Ropes, no thunder in Powdertown. And Ropes, I did see. Yeah, we're going to talk about that too coming up in hour number 2. So, since it is that time where we get to catch up with a mogul in training, we'll find out. We'll see how he classifies himself. We'll find out about Thanksgiving. We'll find out about things and mentoring and how incredibly official all of that sounded, because I'm stalling for time looking for the open for this particular segment. I found it. So here we go. Hey, Cap.
Good morning. Buenos dias.
All right. So I guess the first question is, sir, comma, or ... How was Thanksgiving? What is Thanksgiving like at the Parkhurst Hacienda?
Thanksgiving was good. It was very low key. Gressel family was supposed to join us for Thanksgiving and had a sick kiddo the morning of Thanksgiving, which is natural for any of us that have had kids. I'm pretty sure my son has thrown up on multiple Thanksgivings. So they canceled on us. So it was pretty quiet, low key, but nice, enjoyable low key.
All right. So then let me ask you this. Is there a particular dish that is there as a part of the spread that is indigenous to the Parkhurst family that no one else does? Or is it all just pretty basic and normal? Like you sit there and you walk in and you go, oh, Thanksgiving dinner, and everything is there. Or is there something that is like this wild card that's a part of the table?
Very much traditional, because it's my favorite meal, the traditional Thanksgiving. The only thing that's odd to me is my son, it's a Thanksgiving thing for him that he has to have Jell-O.
Okay.
Which I don't know if that's normal or not. I never grew up with Jell-O on Thanksgiving, but I don't even like Jell-O, but he only has Jell-O on Thanksgiving. It's like the only time of year he's got Jell-O.
That's the only time of year that he has Jell-O is Thanksgiving. It doesn't want Jell-O like in the heat of summer when it's like 9,000 degrees and you get a quick piece of relief. He just wants it during Thanksgiving.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you what it's about, John, but that's how it is. So
Okay, all
yeah,
right. I'm still trying to process the piece of information that you just gave me. So
I understand.
okay. So there, where you are based, there is interest that is continuing with a team that is going to be playing in a match this weekend.
I'm going to said match this
Oh, you
weekend.
are.
I am.
Are you sitting in the mogul seats, or are you going to be with the folks in the Bailey wearing a different colored thing, or what are you doing?
If by section 214 the moguls sit up there, then yes.
What's the vibe been like there in town with Hell is Real, the conference final, which sounds like movie number 3 in a series or something like that. What's the vibe been like up there?
I don't know, honestly. I'm not really that in tuned, I guess, to the vibe, but
Folks aren't like walking through subdivisions carrying flags and wearing hard hats and like waking people up at 3 a.m. and sitting there going, "We're in a conference final and it's Hell is Real."
surprisingly not. No, I haven't seen that, but I know that Crew fans aren't happy with the allotment of tickets that have been given to them for this game. There's always got to be a little bit of drama. But no, I mean, I'm going there to just enjoy the match. I obviously will be rooting for Columbus, but unlike most Crew fans, I don't hate Cincinnati. I actually really like their coaching staff. I love Pat Noonan as a human being, and obviously Jeff Lorenowitz works with Cincinnati as well. So if Cincy wins, I will be attending MLS Cup and we'll cheer for Cincinnati.
Okay. When you look at what Pat Noonan and everybody from the Philadelphia front office that's come over to resurrect what's going on in Cincinnati, and with what Wilfred Nancy has been able to do there in Columbus, what's it been like to see both of these teams grow to this point, to where they have survived the playoffs to this point?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, I think for Cincinnati, it's always challenging when you get to this position that you haven't been before. So I think that they've done well to get to where they are. This will be a really fun matchup. And obviously Columbus, Wilfred, I don't know how much success he's had in the playoffs, if any. So it's kind of new for him as well. They were probably as a team got more experience here. So I don't know. I'm really looking forward to the game. I think it's going to be really entertaining. Both teams are good offensively. The Miazga thing is now taking some headlines here the last 24 hours or so. So yeah, we'll see. I'm disappointed Julian hasn't been playing much for Columbus, but that's is what it is.
Decisions that are made by coaches in playoff situations. I can ask about the Miazga situation. You can address it if you wish. I was going to take it from a mentoring perspective in dealing with controlling emotions and things like that. Which direction do you want to go with it?
Yeah, I think that I don't know. I'll just address it head on. Like,
Good.
For me, the yellow card in the game was excessive. Not excessive from the referee, excessive from Matt.
Yeah.
Like, I understand you rile up the fans a little bit, but I would have given him a yellow card too if I was the referee. Like, he did it too long. He's taking forever, shushing them, and he absolutely was instigating the crowd too much, and so it was a yellow card in my opinion. So that, and similar to the Dest thing, like, okay, the initial yellow, okay, I get it. You lose your mind, you get caught up, like, okay. I understand it, right? Is it stupid? Yeah. Can you live with it? Yeah, you can get over it, no problem. Right? Yeah, he's gonna miss the game. That sucks, but it is what it is, right? You put yourself in that situation. But it sounds like the confrontation or hope to confrontation. I don't even know if he ever got into their locker room.
Yeah, there's video apparently from RBA that shows that he did.
Okay, it sounds like it was like an hour or so after the game, or
80 minutes. Hours.
that blows my mind. Blows my mind, because there's no way after 80 minutes after the whistle you are still so fired up that you need to then go confront the referees. Like, what? There's no good that's going to come from that. And not only that, but where's the staff of FC Cincinnati? I know that I just talked about how I love the staff. What are they doing? How is nobody, stopping that? It's a
like,
fail.
Where's Matt? You're looking around the locker room and he's not in there. And
and that doesn't take the blame off of Matt, because he's got a lot of experience. He needs to control himself. Like, I don't care if you're a hothead or you've got emotions or anything. Like, you're missing out on the end to this amazing season, as the, even yourself having a great season and a lot of success, and one of the leaders of the team, and just ridiculous, honestly. And now I know the MLS PA has come out with some information, so I don't know what's going on there. So it's really, really interesting. But yeah, from a mentorship perspective, like, that's one of the things. It's like, you got to get back to neutral faster than that. Like I said, you can get hot in a moment, right? And obviously you got to make sure you don't get too hot. But you get hot and you get a yellow card, like, okay, that happens every now and then. It's as similar as making a mistake on the field. You can make a mistake, just don't let them snowball. Don't make 2 mistakes and 3 mistakes right after each other. And that's what both these guys did. And Matt's was even worse, because it was like an hour later. You need to come down. You need to settle, get over these things. It's crazy.
We can go back and talk about Des too, and kind of lump the two together. But when you talk to mentees about dialing it back to neutral, have you come across mentees in what you've been viewing that initially are hotheads, that you've had to address this notion of coming back to neutral and dialing it back and trying to just focus on the next play, don't make something that is already bad worse? Have you had mentees and conversations with folks about this kind of stuff?
Yeah, we have. And it's harnessing energy, right? We don't want to tell players to play without emotions, right? It's, some players need that, and they feed off those playing with that emotion. So, it would be like telling Leandro Gonzalez Perez, hey, don't play with emotions. And then he wouldn't be the same player, right? So it's, how do you harness that, and not let that get the best of you, right? Take the positives from it, but, try and cut out the downfalls from it. And that's difficult, right? So we talk about the reactions and controlling your reactions, even body language, right? When other guys make mistakes, and how you treat your own teammates, those types of things, right? Because we see it at the professional level. There's so much of it, right? There's anytime a shot gets taken by a player that's not the striker, if that ball doesn't go in, usually the striker is like, oh, why didn't you pass it to me? I would have scored. Type reaction. And that, in one sense, I get strikers' frustrations. Another sense is like, come on, have some better body language, and be supportive of teammates. So they see it at the professional level. So I think that's why they think it's okay to do. So we try and help out with that. But for sure, calming the emotions and tinkering it down. It doesn't help when parents are freaking out on the sidelines too, because right, it's all kind of intertwined.
Parents freaking out on the sidelines and being emotional in situations?
Yeah, I'm talking about outliers. It's not really the usual.
Okay, so like dealing with the extremes, with the extreme parents, as opposed to the parent that sits there and is just venting their spleen about the whole time, that kind of a thing. It seems like there are levels, it seems like there are levels of parents too when it comes to their emotions.
Totally. I was being a little sarcastic, but yes, a lot of them.
I haven't had. I've just started my morning cup. I haven't been able to process a whole lot of information this morning. And so it seems, and it seems like the external factors and those that are in and around folks, in and around these athletes, whether it's a student athlete, a mentee, or someone that we watch on television. I don't necessarily know if enabling the emotion is the right word, or encouraging the emotion and the outburst is the right approach to think about it. But it seems like that your environment is key in A, establishing your mental set, and then B, on the flip side, reestablishing it, resetting it, and taking it back to neutral. This seems like that there's a lot of environment that's in play here, in addition to what you think internally about yourself and your own actions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and we're all influenced a little bit about our environment, right? We all subconsciously see things, right? You see how your coach reacts, you see how other teammates react, you see how your parents react, right? And all that stuff subliminally goes in, of like, oh, this is how I should react or can react to different situations. So absolutely, we're a product of our environment, and that sometimes can be a great thing, and sometimes it's something that we have to come to terms with and realize, okay, maybe I can be better.
Abby's like, give him lollipops.
Yeah, I remember Abby said that before. That's a good idea. If I was a referee, I'd definitely be giving lollipops to everybody on the sideline.
So, all right. So you've got your red card in your front pocket. You've got the yellow card in the back pocket. You got lollipops in your front pockets. Is that how this plays?
Yeah, I like that.
Just stack them with dum-dums. It's like, okay, all right, Ted Uncle, here's your cards. Here's your dum-dums. Make sure that you've got enough space in your shorts to make that happen. Were you
maybe that's what we need to do with players that are going down faking injuries too. Like, oh, here's a lollipop. Go on the sideline. Finish this. When you finish this, you can come back in.
So
and it's a really thick one that's going to take a long time for them to finish.
But if it's a Tootsie Pop, though, how many licks does it take to get to the center? It's 3, and then they're back out. So you're saying what we should do is take lollipops and have that as like a sidebar for a sin bin. Basically, it's like, okay, the length that it takes for you to take care of this lollipop is how long you're on the sidelines and the other team's on a power play.
Could be.
I see how this works. I see what you're getting at.
I did hear this stuff about sin bins. Interesting.
Well, and I mean, in MLS Next Pro, what they're doing is if you don't get up from an injury within 10 seconds, then you are penalized basically, and you stand off to the side for 3 minutes. And that 10 seconds, you've seen referees in Next Pro, they've kind of let that breathe a little bit. They start their, it's like referees in wrestling. They'll sit there and they'll wait a while, and then they'll get their count started. So they let the situation kind of dictate itself, and then they'll say, okay, are you staying down or are you getting up? And then the player's like, oh, getting up, those kinds of things. Yeah. Were you a hothead when you started?
No.
So you've always been like level dude.
I have, yeah, for sure.
And I'm sure that you've looked at other folks and you've gone like, bruh, like, get up, stop it. I mean, but I think that now we see why, you as a captain have been as successful as you were in that role, because you were the one who would sit there, you bring folks back, you sit there, you reintroduce logic to the situation. Were you always a logical person about situations going on around you on the field? If you weren't a hothead, were you always logical?
Yeah, I think so. And by hothead, it doesn't mean I don't get hot sometimes.
No, I know. I mean, we've seen you on the pitch, sir, where you have taken advantage of your emotions, but that's key too. I would think that that's also key, where you sit there, when to hit the button and when not to hit the button, because when you do hit it and you want to throw your cleats across the room and drop an expletive that would give us, an explicit rating here on the show, it means more when you do that. It's about picking your spots and the maturity to understand, okay, I don't need to be yelling my head off all the time. If I pick my spot, it's that much more meaningful.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. And those emotions are important sometimes. So, yeah, get hot every now and then for sure. But no, it definitely helped me probably, be a leader, I guess. And Yeah, level set. I think I was probably more logical out there, just understanding things. And for me, it was always just kind of a waste of energy. And I don't know. It was like there's nothing really good that's going to come of most of this stuff. And I know that's difficult to think about in the moment, but
I mean that you're juggling 98 different ideas, and you said it's like, okay, it's cause and effect. And I think that that's probably also something that that your mentees, it might sink in later. It's like if you do something that is rash, it's the cause and effect analysis here. It's like if you do this, then you create this situation, which is a detriment to your team and a detriment to your teammates. So they're learning cause and effect by controlling their emotions too.
100%.
What would you do with Serginho Dest?
It's a good question. It's a really good question. Honestly, I would understand. I understand where Greg's coming from. Greg is trying to downplay the whole event and say, he's going to be part of our team and no problem. And why are you guys making a big deal of it? And because he doesn't want any more distractions around the team, and doesn't want any more controversy and all that stuff. But for me, I would be really nervous anytime he was involved in a high stakes game. So I don't know. I honestly would be fine if Greg suspended him I would understand if we had a hard coach and he was like, he's out completely.
Wow.
I would understand that. Because I was at the Olympics and we were told before the game, our third game at the Olympics, the referee is very strict. You can't say anything to him. Be very careful. 3 minutes into the game, we go down a man due to a red card that was completely avoidable. And we lose 2-1 and our Olympic dream is over. And that cost us. And can you trust Serginho Dest in game 1 of the World Cup? If someone's getting under his skin, if the referee sucks, I don't know. I hope so. He's not going to be excommunicated because Greg's already made that very clear, and he's also very talented, and we know that talented players get more leeway.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if we had a very strict coach who was like, "Hey, he's out," I would be like, "Yeah, I get it," because that was the type of his like. I saw what what's his name, the captain there. What's the captain of the U.S. team?
Oh, there's like 98 of them.
Yeah, that's true. The center back, Tim Ream.
Yeah.
I saw what he said, and I completely agree, right? It's just complete disrespect to not just the referee, just complete disrespect to the opponents of like, it's okay if I get a red card because you guys suck and we're going to win anyways, which they didn't do, but just like complete disregard for any of your teammates. Like he knew, like I'm about to get a red card, but he continued. And that's like, okay, guys, I don't give a shit that you have to go out here and play 60 minutes against Trinidad down a man. I don't care. Right. So that's like the total, just like flipping the bird to every single teammate on the field. And for me, that's like,
that's the ultimate disrespect.
Completely. In my mind, it's worse than Reyna's thing. It's worse than Miazga's thing, for that reason.
And I mean, when Serginho Dest is walking off the field in that moment, and he's taking his time, and I think he's still getting shots in, and literally Matt Turner is trying to push him off of the field and get him away so the game can continue. And Dest is getting into it with Matt Turner, and I know heat of the moment and those kinds of things, and I can put that in its proper context. But still, after you sit there and you complain about a foul not being called, then you complain about you thought that you saved the ball from going out completely and it doesn't, and then you start to woof at the center ref, and then you take the ball and you kick it and you send it skyward, and ball boy's got to go chase for the next 35 minutes to try and find the thing. I mean, it's disrespect after disrespectful moment, and yeah, you deserve to get the red after the second yellow for being disrespectful to the game, disrespectful to the ref, and disrespectful to your teammates. It's like Joker's Wild, Joker, and a triple, and you're out of here.
Totally. Yeah. So, yeah, it'd be interesting. If there's any punishment from Greg, obviously he's facing punishment from, getting the red cards, and he'll miss out on some games. But is there further punishment from Greg? I don't know, and I don't know obviously what happened in the locker room and how sincere he was with his apology and all that stuff. But man, at the heat of the moment, that was so bad. And he's not a 16-year-old. I mean, the guy plays in Champions League. He's played in the biggest leagues in the world. It's like he's not. There can't be that many excuses for him.
So then Bart brings up this idea, suggesting talking to a sports psychologist or a counselor to work on some personal intervention methods so that things don't happen again. Do you ever talk to mentees about, having consultation with third parties and psychologists and other folks that are outside the game that can just be there as a sounding board for these kinds of things?
For sure. If we see the need or that we're not getting through, and obviously sports psychologists provide something different than we do, right? We're trying to just hint at that type of stuff. Obviously, we don't have the qualifications, right? We come at a different lens, right? Of like, been there, done that type of experience wise, where sometimes there's a gap with youth athletes of like, oh, am I going to listen to this person? I can't even kick a soccer ball.
Right.
Right. But if we do think that certain athletes can benefit from it, and I worked with Trevor Moad in high school, and he was fantastic, and he was so good. And really, I learned a lot from him. So yeah, I would absolutely suggest it. And yeah, Des would be someone where I would suggest, like, what's going on in your life where you're freaking out that bad on this. But that's for him to figure out.
All right, rapid fire here in the last couple of minutes. What's the latest book you read?
Trevor Moad's book. He was a sports psychologist, and he passed away not too long ago. But what was the name of the book? I literally finished it yesterday. Nope, don't have it.
You're having me sit here look up it up on Amazon here before we.
Trevor Moad. He wrote two. It was the second one.
Okay.
How to Think Neutrally.
Okay. Well, that makes sense considering the conversation that we've been having this morning.
Yeah.
What book is Getting to Neutral? Trevor Moad.
Getting to Neutral. That's it. Getting to Neutral.
So it takes what it takes. Forward by Russell Wilson is the other one, and then Getting to Neutral is the other one. Okay. All right. So then, what book other than what you've just read from Trevor Moad would you recommend for folks? The Michael Parker's Book Club. What would you have folks read these days?
I think I mentioned it last time I was on with you. Maybe what was it? Something about expectations. I'm really good with book titles, John.
It's Book Club with Michael Parker.
Expectation Effect.
Okay.
Got it. The Expectation Effect is phenomenal. Really good book.
Okay. So you're going to be in the Mogul and Training section at TQL in section 214 for anybody that's going to be squeezed into the building.
And MLS Cup's going to be in Ohio, guaranteed, so I'll be there too.
Okay. So then what do you think is going to happen in the Western Conference?
LA's playing Houston.
Benny Ball, baby.
Benny Ball. I'm rooting for Houston. I'll say that.
I'm sensing a conjunction, though.
Yeah, if I had to put money on it, I'd probably go to LA. But I'm rooting for Houston.
So you are rooting for a Houston v Ohio MLS Cup.
Correct.
All right. What's the latest with the RIFC other than Christine Lilly coming in and getting leaving her visit with a pullover zip-up sweatshirt?
Yeah, that was exciting. That was fun. We had some open tryouts. We had some combine tryouts. So that went good. We're up to 10 players signed. So that's good. Announcing our striker early next week. So that's good.
Okay.
So, yeah, making progress.
Okay. And so is the more progress just making more signings and making sure that the roster is full, considering that you've got folks that are shifting, and folks shifting right now in USL Championship. I saw Thomas Vanke Yazil has now gone from Birmingham to Hartford as a part of their makeover. A lot of different things. So you're just adding more players. I see what you're doing.
Exactly. Got to get that squad together.
When you had the tryouts, what was that like, having that massive humanity there for the tryouts?
Yeah, it was a great turnout. It was a great event. Everything went well. It was well organized, and it was fun. It was fun to see everybody competing. The guys had great attitudes. The talent level was okay. There were a couple guys that stood out. So a couple guys will bring into preseason.
Okay, and for folks that want to follow along, they just follow Rhode Island FC on every possible social media platform, and follow you at BG Mentoring and at MF Parkhurst on the 280 character app. What's the weekend like other than going to TQL? You gonna take it easy?
Taking it easy. That's about it. That's the highlight of the weekend, John.
As it should be. All right.
All right. Running to a 10 o'clock call.
Go. You're 2 minutes late. Then why are you talking to me? Get out of here.
You're more important, John. Don't tell them.
There you go. Attaboy. Be good, Cap.
Have a good week.
All right, bye. We're more important than his 10 o'clock call. That's fantastic. I love it. Yeah, Abby anger management classes. Don't call Destin to camp. Why call players into camp and then you don't play them? Yeah, that's happened before. That's just ugh. Tom, on the sin bin, I think I agree with some of those who say sin bins are a bad idea. If it's 10 minutes, offending team would just park the bus for that time, grinding the game to a halt. Yeah, and we do see that with 11v11. Hitting Abby's counting to 3. Exactly. You count to 3. You better get up. 1, 2, 2.5, 2 3/4, 2 7/8. All right, 3. You're out for 3 minutes. So we'll see what happens with but the thing with the injury rule in MLS Next Pro, and we had these conversations with the Steve Cook last year with Atlanta United too. It's like, if everybody's wondering about legitimate injuries and things like that, if a team is trailing and somebody is sitting down, it's like they can't get up. It's not like they want to go down a man. So there, probably needs to be some massaging of the rule and some just understanding about what's going on. But MLS Next Pro, they were working on the idea of injuries and getting up, and either that or doing being down a man for a couple of minutes. So we'll see how that continues to grow in MLS Next Pro in 2024. Okay, past the top of the hour. So I know we're going to get into what's going on in Cincinnati, and it's going to take a while. So this is part of what went down yesterday, and that was why we took care of the other teams and the other thoughts with New England and their press conference going on right now with Brian Bolello and with Cardinalfo. And just in time, with hour number 2, it's Jared Smith. Good morning.
Good morning.
What is up, sir?
Shenanigans levels around the league, for one thing.
That is true. Yeah, and we were going
to
get into the Cincinnati update, because we talked about Vanni Sartini. So let me get your thoughts about Sartini in Vancouver getting 1+5 and a fine, and Cardinalfo and the Baloney now going full-time, full bore as sporting director there with the Revs.
Yeah, apparently some assistant coach tweeted out some emojis.
Oh yeah, Vandenberg. Yes.
Yeah, suggested that he does not agree with this decision. I feel like a great fool because I remember we were sitting on here one time not too long ago discussing, man, it feels like he's really played himself out of anything resembling a job.
Mm-hmm.
No, New England's going to give him a bigger job.
Yeah,
I know. We know nothing.
No, we know.
Whoopsies.
Yes, exactly. News out of Montreal. They've got their list out. Departing players, a couple of interesting ones. James Pantemis and Zachary Broguiar, departing players, according to Jonathan Tannenwald. But, so we know absolutely nothing when it comes to the baloney in New England. And so they're trying to get past the baloney, as are the rest of us, but it's still going to be there for quite some time. But then Vanni Sartini got 1+5 and I think it was a $25,000 fine, and he has to attend counseling for his outburst after losing to Los Angeles in the opening round.
Yeah, he look. We know Sartini is insane. We know he's a special kind of insane, a kind that is enjoyable for most people.
Yeah.
The bottom line, though, is that he did make a joke about, if a referee ends up on the bottom of a river, they're going to look at him first. You can't make that joke. We all enjoy Sartini, but we're holding people to standards. We have to hold everyone to those standards. It's not fair to just drag Matt Miazga and not also punish other people.
Yeah.
Because Sartini was joking. I think he made it pretty clear he was joking, but what he said isn't. It's one of those things that you can laugh it off as he's joking,
but you can't say it.
But you can't say it, and they're going to hold you accountable accordingly. Now, is it it might be weird that he got it might be weird that he got more games than Miazga.
Yeah.
I guess it's just a matter of like confirmed versus unconfirmed. Because the thing with Miazga for me still is, and I know everyone is up in arms about this still, Pat Noonan has repeatedly put his foot in his mouth and decided to set up a nice little timeshare there.
Yeah, we're gonna run that tape in a second,
dude. But all of that being said, I still think a lot of what you got from Miazga is because you're giving him a 3-game minimum because he went in there, and that's falling under referee abuse. You are not, and this is the thing that's really pissed me off about the MLSPA statement, about the stuff coming out of Cincinnati. Don't move the goalposts on me here.
Yeah.
I don't care. This punishment to me is punishing him for going in there.
Yeah.
If you could confirm all of the things in there, I think that were alleged, I think it would have been a much more substantial suspension. He went in there, and that's the part that's pissed me off in the coverage of this and the treatment and the comments out of Cincinnati and the MLSPA stuff is they're not disputing that he went in there. They're arguing about, whether or not he did say or did do something in there. To me, that's not the question here. And it feels to me very disingenuous. Like you're trying to dismiss the fact that he went in there and you're starting your way down the narcissist prayer of he didn't go in there. Okay, yes, he went in there, but yes, he did this, but, and you just start down that rabbit hole of you're excusing one thing and you're trying to downplay one thing so you can make your point about something else. And I get it from the MLSPA because they're going to protect their players, even at the risk of looking like jerks sometimes, because that's what a players union does in this situation. It costs you nothing, though, to be quiet, Pat Noonan.
Yeah. But
it is a free activity that does not require any financial investment to just say he was suspended. Yeah, we disagree with it. We're going to have to move on. To continue to elaborate on it just feels annoying. But yeah, my whole thing with this is he was suspended in my eye for going in there. That's 3 games.
Yeah.
That is USSF. You abused a ref, 3 games. Congratulations. If they could have confirmed other things, I think it would have been more. I took this personally, and this is just my opinion. I took this as they're saying, oh, we know he went in there. We can't confirm anything else. So we're going to suspend him for what we know happened and not suspend him for hearsay. And he said, she said. Frankly, you should take it and run with it because your dumbass went in there when you knew better. When the team official who's dragging you out of there allegedly says, what are you doing? Or to paraphrase, what are you doing going in there? You can't go in there. You knew what you were doing was wrong and you went in there. Stop trying to make this about what was or wasn't said in the referee's report versus what you're saying and turning it into a he said, she said, and quit trying to bury the fact that your dumbass went into the referee's locker room when you're not supposed to.
So here is yesterday. And like I said, this is the downside of us not having an afternoon drive program. Here is the press opportunity that was had with Pat Noonan and it is courtesy of a combination of FC Cincinnati and WLWT-TV. But here's what Pat Noonan said about Matt Miazga, and we will go over the quote.
Matt made a mistake, and now he's paying the consequences. We've had good conversations just internally about moving forward from this and Matt's leadership and the importance of having him on the field. Having said that, I think the punishment is way over the top for the actions that transpired. I think this is something that's unprecedented, and taking everything into account, I think this could have been a heavy fine, and you try to keep your most important players on the field for key games. If you look at the NBA or the NFL, some of these other leagues, are you really taking off your top players in key moments because of things like this? I think you probably don't, and that's not the case here. But again, Matt made a mistake, and now we suffer from it. But I also would love to see some transparency and accountability with the officials. I'm talking about it. At some point, Matt's going to have the opportunity to talk about it. Let's have an official up here talking about what transpired, so it's not just transcript. It's not just here's the report. I think we can move forward in a strong way if we have that as well. So it's disappointing, but I'll try to leave it at that so we can focus on the game.
So that is Pat Noonan. Let's break this quote down and go through some of the points that he made. Having said that, I think the punishment is way over the top for the.
It's not. He went in the referee's room. It falls under referee abuse. It's not. It's 3 games. Mm-hmm. It's fine. You can appeal it because you're going to appeal it. That's okay. It's okay to appeal things. Like, it happened. This isn't like a unique situation where we have to clutch our pearls and why would he appeal it? Yeah, it's kind of dumb in the grand scheme of things, but you're always going to appeal a suspension. Rufus Odor appealed when he knocked out Joey Bats' lights out.
Yeah.
In the Blue Jays Rangers brawl like 9 years ago. Like, you're gonna appeal everything. It's fine. Whatever. Carry on. I'm going to interject on you a lot.
Absolutely. No, and that's
because I'm really annoyed by the entire damn thing.
Oh, absolutely. Think the punishment's way over the top for the actions that transpired. No, it's not. It's the bare minimum.
Hey, Rich. Good to see you, buddy.
Yes. Good morning, Rich. I think this is something that's unprecedented. Yes, someone going into the
locker room is unprecedented in MLS that we know of.
Yeah.
You're correct. It is unprecedented.
Yes.
Congratulations. You've used the word correctly.
Yes. Taking everything into account, I think this could have been a heavy fine, and you try to keep your most important players on the field for 2 games, 2 points.
Oh, kiss my ass.
I think this could have been a heavy fine. No, it could not have been a heavy fine.
Because
into the referee's room.
Where he's going with this is, I can't believe you're suspending an important player for a playoff game. Basically, what he's implying here, and if it's not, then choose your words better next time, big guy, is it's not fair that you're punishing a big name player before a playoff game. So what? So if it had been like the 19th guy on the roster who went in there, you'd have been like, well, this sucks, but now he's paying a punishment for it. But because it's Matt Miazga, who won MLS Defender of the Year and is the anchor of your back line, because he matters, he should get preferential treatment. Kiss my ass. He doesn't get preferential treatment. Hey, man, did Draymond Green get preferential treatment? We got suspended in the middle of a 3-1 collapse in the NBA Finals. Like, don't tell me it's unprecedented. Guys get suspended for stuff. Just because you have a name that is recognizable, just because you have an award next to your name does not make you exempt from the rules. That's not the way it works. No. Look, you can get out of pocket as much as you want, but understand that there will be consequences for your actions.
Yes.
That's just a bare minimum to understand. And it's pretty, honestly, it's insulting, the idea that, like, oh, we shouldn't suspend him because he's Matt Miazga. Shut the hell up, man. Raquel Mayboka just went to the room a couple seasons ago. Yeah, okay. There you go. Maybe it's only a special situation in MLS. But come the hell on, man. Don't tell me that don't tell me that the issue is because Matt Miazga is a person of significance in the Cincinnati lineup. That's why. That's the reason and the fulcrum with which the entire argument bends that we shouldn't punish him because he's good.
Mm-hmm. So
I do not have the cholesterol for this morning.
Yeah, you do. Taking everything into account, I think this could have been a heavy fine. No, it could not. He went into the referee's room.
If it had been a heavy fine,
oh my God,
Jesus! If you thought this response was intense, I want you to imagine what the response would have been had he done this. Had he not even like again? I don't give a damn about the report of what he did or didn't do, what they're saying he did or didn't do. It's the fact that he went in there. If you don't suspend him for 3 games for going into the area he knows he's not supposed to go into. Also, by the way, well, the security guard wasn't there is a weak ass excuse. You don't if you walk into a Walmart and the electronics section door is open, you don't grab 2 PS5s and walk out the door. Well, the door was open and there was no one standing there. You know what to do and what not to do. To Bart's point, like he's a grown man. Matt Bianca's 28 years old. He ain't a kid.
Yeah.
Well, the security guard wasn't standing there is not an excuse.
No.
It doesn't excuse you being an absolute moron for just a moment.
Yes.
And yeah, he might have gotten out of there and gone, oh my God, what the hell did I do? Totally possible.
Yeah.
That he walked out of there and went, oh my God. Yeah, I screwed up.
But he
absolutely possible. But you still went in there and you still have consequences for your actions.
And he said more than once, I want to speak to the effing referee, and did not leave. And when folks were trying to grab him to have him forcibly removed, get your hands off me. Like I said, Laurel Fowler, Queen City Press, did a fantastic job of this. If you want to keep reading and support her work, please do.
Also, I need certain aspects of that fan base to go touch some damn grass, because if you're making this personal against a Red Bulls reporter who was standing outside the room and was able to corroborate it, please go touch some grass, because you're doing the thing where you're getting mad at everyone except the guy who was an idiot. Look, I know we have what amounts to a constant war against officials in this country. It is a constant thing. I promise you. We're not special. We're not the only country who dislikes their officials, who has it constantly going on. But holy God, go touch some grass and go outside. Go get on like a swing at a playground and go regulate your soul for a minute.
Yeah. If you look at the NBA or NFL, some of these other leagues, are you really taking off your top players in key moments because of things like this? You mentioned Draymond Green.
So you took off Draymond Green.
The answer is yes, Pat. They have. The answer is yes. I think you probably don't. The answer is yes. They have.
They have, and again, a lot of times, just because if you want a weird precedent here, you do have this in the NBA, and the NBA is much more prone to like almost WWE level like shenanigans. I think we can all agree, because you've had instances where like you've had scuffles on the court and like players have set foot on the court, which is supposed to be a 1-game suspension, and it wasn't always a 1-game suspension. To that point, he is correct. But to say that, great, like top players being suspended is unprecedented, it can happen, and it should happen, because your name on the back of your shirt shouldn't dictate whether or not you get suspended for doing something incredibly stupid, which is what he did. Again, Matt Bianca might have walked out of there and been like, oh God, what kind of idiot am I?
No.
Oh God, I'm going to get suspended for this, aren't I? Totally possible. And I don't expect him to do it again at this point. Because I think personally, I think if he ever did it again and you get repeat offender status, oh man, not only is that suspension going up, it's going up by an exponential number.
Yes. So let's have an official up here talking about what transpired. So it's not just transcript. It's not just here's the report. I think we can move forward in a strong way if we have that as well.
Rich, Cincinnati fans are new to actual things happening to their team. Yeah, they are. They're getting a sensory overload right now.
They are.
Like, things are happening. What is this?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, Scott Foster.
Yeah.
Well, Matt Bianca's a name in MLS because he just won an award, Rich. That's what I'm going off of. And also, he does anchor their back line. But yeah, Scott Foster. Yay, Scott Foster and Chris Paul. And Jesus. I didn't want to talk about the NBA this morning, mostly because then I have to think about how much I hate the Hawks, and none of that's healthy for me.
Okay, so then the MLSPA comes out with a statement, and we understand the idea of protecting players because as a union, you're supposed to do that. So the MLSPA,
They're always going to do it no matter what.
Absolutely. So here's what the MLSPA put out in their press release for those of you that missed it. The MLS Players Association condemns the behavior of the Professional Soccer Referees Association and certain PSRA members with regard to the November 4 incident at Red Bull Arena involving FC Cincinnati player Matt Miazga. It's a complete sentence. Both the match report approved by the officials and the statements released by the PSRA regarding the incident contained material falsehoods. Since then, the PSRA has not only failed to correct these falsehoods, its president has continued to repeat them publicly. End of paragraph number 1. To respect the integrity of the disciplinary process, the MLSPA refrained from public comment until the process was complete. The PSRA, on the other hand, created and repeatedly reinforced a false public narrative that appears to have directly influenced that process. Video footage made available and reviewed during the disciplinary process confirms that statements made by the referees and the PSRA were false. Unfortunately, that evidence does not appear to have been appropriately factored into MLS's decision. In the meantime, no discipline has been announced for the referees for submitting a match report with multiple false statements, and no discipline has been announced to address the stadium security breakdown that allowed the incident to occur in the first place. Further, MLS has not publicly condemned the PSRA for their irresponsible actions and false statements. Players in MLS are held publicly accountable for their actions. It's high time that the same standard be applied to officials. Last paragraph, refereeing is a difficult job. Mistakes on the field happen and the game moves on. Matters of integrity, however, are rightfully taken much more seriously. The behavior of the referees and the PSRA in this case did not demonstrate a level of integrity commensurate with a league of MLS's stature. My point for the MLSPA is this. If they contained material falsehoods, what are they? You say the incident contained that the match report contained material falsehoods. The president has continued to repeat them publicly. PSR created and repeatedly reinforced a false public narrative. Video footage made available confirms the statements made by the referees and the PSRA were false. Okay, fine. MLSPA, you said what you said. What are the material falsehoods? You can't just get away with sitting there and saying, okay, paragraph. Material falsehood continued to foster all these kinds of things. You're using whistles here. It's dog whistles. What specifically are you referring to? What are the falsehoods?
And again, for me, it always comes back to he went in there. That's 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we haven't been able to confirm anything else, from the way I'm personally looking at the way it unfolded, is hey, we can't confirm all of this. And they do touch on a problem, which is that there is no transparency in punishments for officials in this league, because we've seen it in other issues where you're thinking like, oh my God, they screwed up. Well, we never hear about punishment. So maybe if they submitted a bad match report, we won't hear about it. That is a problem. They are correct about that thing. That is 100% a problem that should be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it's only 3 games makes me think that there are questions about it, or that they cannot confirm stuff,
or that they can take the evidence to a certain point, but they can't go past.
They cannot finish the entire drill here. That's
if there's,
fine.
And like I said, if there is, and Bart's going to join us here in a second because he's fired up. Understandably so, as our resident official.
As a Bart is the resident referee here.
Yes. So I mean, you could extrapolate that there are security cameras inside Red Bull Arena. I would imagine that there are, in addition to security, in the human form, I would imagine that there are cameras made available to security personnel in some kind of a room where you sit there and you look at hallways and things like that. I would imagine that is what Major League Soccer is looking at when it came to the idea of the initial numbers of the suspension for Matt Miazga, but they could not carry it further. Like I said, I mean, every arena has cameras, every arena, and so it's just the level of surveillance. You can take your decision to a certain point. Okay, here's Bart, he's mad, and here's
Be mad.
Well, I'm mad because I'm with Jarrett. Like everything else that keeps being brought up, and we can talk about referee accountability because I think there's a level to that here. But everything that's being brought up dismisses and apologizes for almost Matt Miazga being an absolute explicit warning dumbass.
Well, Parky said shit, so
No.
I think we're already there.
Yeah.
No, I'll take no. To Bart's point, I think it goes beyond that. It absolutely excuses it because
Yes.
the wording from the MLSPA statement absolutely is excusing.
They
him
literally
going in
said it's not his fault that the referees somehow made a bad decision, which is improper at all. Like to begin with, that they did the right thing with Miazga. At every single time, the man got a yellow card 3 times in one match.
Yeah.
Okay, the man got 3 yellow cards in one match. All 3 of them were deserved. Okay, so first off, let's not pretend like the referees are at fault for making a bad decision. You know. Secondly, we're blaming security for not being right outside the door 90 minutes after a game because they thought they could, I don't know, go to the bathroom or something. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, there were multiple security officials there, according to the Laurel Fowler piece at Queen City. But a newer security guard, apparently in the situation, decided apparently went to go file an incident report as the incident was still ongoing, and that led to the lack of security personnel to try to remove Miazga from the room. And so
That makes sense.
So
again, we're still blaming the security for Matt Miazga being there in the first place.
Again, nothing is his fault.
Which is why he is the way he is. He's a petulant, spoiled little child and has acted that way his entire career. That's the thing. This is not Michael Parkhurst, who's a saint and a well-mannered young man and a captain at that point in time, you know, when he was playing. This is Matt Miazga, who, during this entire process, has been pointing out, has had like 80% of his yellow cards be for non-soccer things, you know, during this year. This man has a track record, okay? It's his fault. Stop trying to blame anyone else. Stop trying to say, oh, well, the referees need to be held accountable. You're right. They need to be held accountable for if they did something incorrect. But you keep saying there are falsehoods. You haven't pointed them out yet. And also, falsehoods versus a different account of the story that all amounts to Matt Miazga being somewhere where he damn well shouldn't have been. What are we arguing about? What are you mad at? And it's irresponsible from MLSPA to be so contradictory to what PRSA and MLS have said in this entire process.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for me, and Rich admits, well, Hutch says scapegoats. We need scapegoats, and then Rich goes, "I've been to RBA in a lot of areas. Security there is pretty trash. I mean, I've been to RBA too."
Well, look, Red Bull forgot that they had people in the building. Okay, they're not used to having staff for for more than 10,000 people in a building.
It is literally where you're sitting there and. I mean, the only thing about Red Bull Arena is make sure that you've got your Uber squared away before the end of the match, because Uber is not a fan of going there after dark to Harrison, New Jersey. My mother was an English major. And the biggest thing that was impressed upon me at a very early age was modifiers. If you're going to say something, you can't just sit there and say something without any kind of detail. Basically, what the MLSPA has done here is sit there and go, we're going to say something. We're not going to have any kind of modifier or depth attached to it. And we're just going to say this, and you have to take us at our word. I've seen no evidence as a part of this process from the MLSPA where it's like they said what they said, and literally it's like we're saying what we're saying, then we're leaving the room. If there are material falsehoods, what are they? You can't just sit there and say, well, yeah, they're falsehoods. Okay, well, what are they? I need this depth of information from you folks.
It's the simplicity of, well, he broke the rules. Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
In the statement. That's
it is
kind of where we're at.
It's nuh-uh and yuh-huh. I mean, literally, that's where we are. It is nuh-uh and yuh-huh.
Well, I think it also is a problem, Jarrett, kind of to your point, is that they're arguing that something in the report is the reason why he's getting this long suspension. Which, by the way, 3 games is really not that long of a suspension. Let's not like pretend like this is telling the man he can't play soccer ever again. It's 3 frickin' games.
Yeah.
The problem is, as Jarrett has pointed out many times, you're at the point of referee abuse, right? This is U.S. soccer guidelines and standards here. This is not, oh, you said a bad word to a referee on the field, which is referee abuse, or, oh, you know, we think maybe you did this, so that means it's this. You went into their space, period.
Yeah.
That alone reaches the threshold of a 3-game suspension. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
Stop pretending like he had to do other things. Like, oh, well, it's the same. I have this issue in, like, mostly in adult leagues because they're actually large children. But, you know, oh, well, I swung at him, but I didn't hit him. Well, buddy, it's still a red card.
You still swung at him.
Like, well, he didn't actually do anything mean to the referees. He was still there. He's not supposed to. Somehow with pizza, apparently, which is the other part of the story that is just confounding.
Well, and the thing is, it's like, was it pizza? Was it fries? Was it a to-go bag? All these kinds of things.
All those things are not substantive material. Those are just versions of a story that all boils down to Matt Miazga somewhere he shouldn't have been, talking to people he shouldn't have been talking to. And again, for an incident that he was clearly in the wrong. The referee crew made no mistake when it came to sending off Matt Miazga. We all watched it.
Yeah, we all watched it, but that doesn't stop the MLSPA from sitting there and just saying blatant falsehood. You know, and just okay. So reinforcing false public narratives created and repeatedly reinforced a false public narrative that appears to have directly influenced the process. No discipline has been announced for the referees for submitting a match report with multiple false statements. Okay, what are they? And no discipline has been announced to address the stadium security breakdown. Okay, so we've talked security breakdown, but the MLS has not publicly condemned the PSRA for their irresponsible actions and false statements. No discipline has been announced for the referees for submitting a match report with multiple false statements. What are the false statements? What is the false public narrative? What are the falsehoods here? What are they? You can't just sit there and dive into the pool and say, you know, this is a cannonball. I mean, it's like, okay, you can't cannonball into the pool and have the water go out and sit there and go, oh, I didn't do that. I mean, it's like I said, one of the things with my mother, it's always been about detail. And there's a lot of details. All you have here are people yelling and finger pointing. And Pat Noonan, who apparently doesn't get it, and the MLSPA, who, while defending their player, Bart, they're speaking in generalities without offering any kind of specifics to their arguments.
Well, and here's the thing that I think, you know, they want to get at is to basically say that Victor Rivas, who, by the way, was, you know, MLS Referee of the Year, shouldn't be working games, I guess is what they want.
Yeah, I guess so.
He's assigned to the LA Houston match this weekend. I think it would have been funnier had they just given him the Cincinnati Columbus game. But, you know, they didn't ask my opinion. So, oh well.
Yeah.
I think they would have burned something down if he'd been. Cincinnati would have tried to burn something down.
Yeah, it would have been. This is what I want in this game, because at this point I'm like team anti-Cincinnati. They have ruined everything. Take your terrible chili and dump it on your head and go home. I hope that Columbus gets a penalty within the first 15 minutes, and then Cincinnati fans just absolutely melt down, because right, what I've seen from Cincinnati fans, supporters, and everyone on Twitter the past couple days is
It's ugly.
moronic behavior.
It's ugly.
You know, I mean,
Go ahead.
Mm. It is ugly. It is ill-informed, and I mean it's nasty.
Like I said, you got people making excuses about going after the New York Red Bulls reporter who was standing outside the locker room and provided detail via DM.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, please just go touch grass.
Mm-hmm.
Go do something positive, because this ain't it, man.
No.
Like, the behavior has been awful, and yeah, you couldn't put Rivas on this game because the first time he calls a foul on Cincinnati, everyone's going to lose their damn minds.
Uh-huh.
Even if it's like Lucho Acosta pulls out like a missile drop kick off the corner flag onto somebody, he's small enough he can bounce on the corner flag. But if he,
well, he certainly can't get on top of the goal. He couldn't reach that.
no, I don't know. He might Spider-Man his way up the net.
Well,
He's
all right.
athletic
So,
enough.
all right,
But the very first foul that would have gotten called on them, the whole thing would have just imploded, which sucks.
So, Bart, let me ask you this: when it comes to officials hearing this kind of, and I'll say it, onslaught of just verbiage that's just vitriol and anger. I mean, how do you try to not let it affect your on-field performance and try to stay as neutral as possible in a situation like this when you know that, you have organizations gunning after you and you have individuals gunning after you and you have fans gunning after you? I mean, the one statement in the MLSPA release that I think we all can agree on here is refereeing is a difficult job.
Well, you have to be hyper vigilant and be attuned to the fact that one team already feels a little bit aggrieved, right? And so you can, with your body language, with the words you use, be proactive in saying, no, that was a foul. Yes, he kicked him. Just be a little bit more on top of it than you normally are.
Mm-hmm.
But, the problem is Cincinnati and Pat Noonan has done his team zero favors. And that's the other problem that I have here is like, there's the difference between having a chip on your shoulder and pretending like this is somehow like a personal attack on you, your family, the generations before you and the generations after you. Like, this is not Mercutio, a curse on both your houses. This is just you guys screwed up.
Yeah.
You have, like, Pat Noonan is causing problems for his team, because I'm with you. As soon as you get the first foul called against you at home, I mean, I feel sorry for Alex Chapman, who's refereeing this game tomorrow. Yeah, today's Friday.
Yes.
Because, as soon as he calls the first foul, it's just going to be this uproar of like, what do you mean? And it could be, the most obvious thing ever. But they're going to act like this is some sort of, attack on the spirit of Cincinnatus, and Skyline Chili. I mean, like, they're going to act like this is this is somehow they're out to get them. And that sucks, because it doesn't affect how you should call the game, but it will affect how players and fans and everything and just the general tone and temperature in the game will be.
And a part of the comments, PSRE President Peter Manikowski, and I went ahead and subscribed to Laurel's Patreon. Manikowski said he is in the process of reviewing Pat Noonan's comments and has already been in discussion with the commissioner's office about the accusations of fabrications. This is going back to last week. You've got to have more composure about going into an officiating space. Yeah, first off, you don't do it. First off, you've got to have more composure about going into an officiating space. Yeah, you don't do it. First and foremost. It's an hour and a half after the game where he's got a pizza box in his hand. I think people have this notion he's in his cleats running into that room. I think it's pretty close. So there's a lot that's been fabricated what's happened, and that part's also disturbing. So hopefully we can come to a conclusion that has him back on the field. That was before the suspension came down. So what you've also got here is a manager sticking up for his player, which we know you do, then intimating fabrications from officials and the PSRA looking into that, and then Pat Noonan saying what he said yesterday, and the MLSPA coming out with what they said yesterday.
Look, I know people hate the fact that Greg Berhalter may handle situations right on occasion, but you compare what Pat Noonan has done and what Greg Berhalter did, and the fact that Greg Berhalter absolutely not defended his player, but supported his player, right? Sergiño Dest did a stupid thing. And to be fair, Sergiño Dest had way more reason to be aggrieved at the situation. I still think it was dumb, and why get that mad over a ball in and out of play? But, he was upset about an actual referee call in the heat of a match. And he did stupid things. Berhalter said it was stupid. He said it was selfish, basically all the things that Parkey talked about. But look, we still support, he's still our guy. He's still our player. We're still going to support him. He's not, there doesn't need to be extra punishment for just getting mad, outside of just general shame and, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Pat Noonan has done the opposite, where he has excused Matt Miazga from any responsibility and accountability for his actions, and insinuated that the punishment shouldn't have happened just because, oh, well, we have an important game Saturday. Well, then he shouldn't have done what he did.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, Rich, the Union Noonan have to defend their players, at least to the media behind closed doors. It has to be something different. That's true.
But this isn't defending Matt Miazga this isn't saying, it sucks. We think it's a little harsh, but, we still think Matt is a good guy, and we're we know he's an important part of this team.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough to not have him this weekend. That's how you do that. What they're doing is not defending him. They're excusing, they're attacking the people who said, yo, being in our space wasn't cool.
Yeah.
Doing this is not good.
Yeah, you're ishing all over referees and the sacred space and this is the thing that Jarrett and I keep looping back to here, is that you don't go in to officiating space. You don't do it. In a professional sense, you don't go into their locker room. In your sense, Bart, they don't follow you to the car as you're trying to leave. I mean, I don't know what the closest thing may have been for you in a situation like this, but you don't follow officials to their cars. You don't sit there and throw Cheetos at them when they're trying to leave the park.
Oh, you can throw Cheetos at me. I'll always get Cheetos.
But
I know how I'm swinging the next rec game Sunday.
Yeah, just give me Cheetos. Jared, I have said on record, money won't bribe me, but if you give me food or beverages, I can be swayed.
Are we talking hot Cheetos, Puffs, the thin ones? What are we?
Oh, the regular crunchy Cheetos are good, but hot Cheetos are also second favorite. So both of those are good.
I'm just making notes.
Yeah, but like I said, the thing that we keep looping back to here is that we're losing the notion of it's not okay to go into a sacred space and violate it here. It's like you're trying to, make everything else fuzzy. Don't pay attention. Don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. But the idea is here, first and foremost, you cannot go into that space and try and confront an official. You can't do that. And it doesn't matter if he's a star. It doesn't matter if you're the 20th guy on the roster. You cannot do this. And this is getting lost in this discussion here that we've been having now for 2 days. You can't go into that sacred space. It doesn't matter who you are.
Well, and the other thing that I hate to go back to, and I've said it all along, I just don't think Matt Miazga knows better. I'm sorry. The man has been this way for his entire professional career, which is 10 years long. You can't tell me this man knows better when he just continually does stupid things all up and down the field that don't have to do with actually playing soccer.
Yeah. Hutch asks, the next guy who does it gets how many games suspension? Well, I mean, at least
I think the standard's been set, right? We know it's 3 games, but you remember that Clint Dempsey is still suspended from U.S. soccer or
Yeah.
U.S. Open Cup play. You know,
and Guatemala Blanco too.
yeah,
So
yeah, he is.
and
Who's now like he's mayor of a city, so like clearly this doesn't affect you in the long run.
For what it's worth,
You can go-
I think Leandro Gonzalez Perez is also still suspended for a game because he got a red
That's
card
right.
in the U.S. Open Cup final. I don't
Yes,
think he
he
ever played in
did.
the U.S. Open Cup game after that.
Oh, yes, he did. Okay.
so
See, and again, it doesn't affect you long term. This is talking about soccer. This is like that's what I don't get. This is not saying Matt Miazga has to go in jail for 3 nights.
no.
It's just soccer, man.
So, but the thing is that everybody is trying to sit there and dance around the base issue here. And Hutch also, I think that if there's more in-depth evidence, it might be more than 3. So I think 3 is a baseline. So we now know that if you enter sacred space, it's 3 or more, depending on the level of evidence and the preponderance of such. But if you say something that you're not supposed to say in a press conference, it's 6. So now at least we have baselines when it comes to what you're not supposed to say at press conferences and what you're never supposed to do in any kind of a soccer environment whatsoever.
But once again, to be fair, that's a manager intimating Godfather level activities.
Yes, So that's that's where we are here. But
We cannot sit here and condemn Matt Miazga and then like be like, sir,
no.
Vanni Sartini was
That was funny.
he was just having a good time.
Yeah.
Well, and that's yeah.
unfair.
I mean, that brings up the other thing that I think needs to kind of be addressed is like they had to do both of these investigations, if you will. Zartini's was not an investigation. He said the damn thing. But the PRSA, Pro, and MLS were dealing with both of these incidents of referee abuse at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, sorry that Matt Miazga, the man who has 27 yellow cards for not committing fouls or whatever the record is this year, is also slightly. I mean, I don't think it's being made an example of, but he's not getting any benefit here, because you could even argue like, okay, there was a misunderstanding of why he was in there. Maybe Matt Miazga thought, I'll bring them some pizza and say, hey, y'all, I'm sorry, I was being an idiot.
Or some
It's
fries.
very possible.
Or some fries with a bunch of ketchup.
Or fries or whatever. Again, we're getting into the point of like, okay, so what was the food? That doesn't matter. That's not a material falsehood.
Nope.
Maybe we can give Matt Miazga some benefit that he was trying to be a nice dude and bring the refs, a peace offering to say, y'all, I'm sorry, that was stupid. Maybe. But it's hard to give him the benefit of that doubt when you combine that with the Sartini comments, literally saying, well, if they die, people will look for me. What?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, you're looking at, it is 2 separate things, but you're looking at now, once again, it's the idea that you can just do whatever you want and say whatever you can say. And I think that's the larger picture here. You can say whatever you want to say and you think it's funny and you think you can get away with it. You can do whatever you want to do and you think you can get away with it because, you just can. And I think that there's got to be something here where it's like, no, this issue stops right now. And you're hoping that with the 1+5 for Sartini and a fine and the meetings and things, and then you sit there at 1+3. I think it would have been more than 3 if we had more evidence. If the evidence was deeper than the video apparently that exists out of Red Bull Arena, which is probably just hallway video. I just have this vision of arenas, and I'm thinking hallway video with a high camera and Zapruder film, and it's like, oh, okay, well, we can zoom in. Oh, there's the referees area. Oh, and there's Matt Miazga. He goes in. So you've done that. You can't do that. So I think that's where we are here, at least now with baselines. But I think that if we'd had any more in-depth knowledge, I think it would have been a lot worse. That's just me. That's where we are here.
And I agree. I think if you could have corroborated some of the allegations, it's more. I think 3 games is he went in there. We aren't able to confirm that he said, she said. Take the 3 games and please don't do it again.
Yeah.
Well, and again, that's kind of the problem that I'm having with this idea of material falsehoods. Because we can't confirm or deny from video footage, so we do have to rely on the referee report. And this is something that, yes, the referees need to make sure they're being slightly unbiased. They have to remove a little bit of their emotion from the report. But unfortunately, that is the only real evidence we have to go off of. And you have 4 referees in a room versus Matt Miazga plus some security officials. So I'm sure security has their own version of the story to tell. And if 2 sides say, "Hey, he did this, this, and this," and the other side says, "Well, I didn't do that part," or "Well, it wasn't pizza, it was fries," buddy, that's not evidence to help you. You know what I'm saying?
No.
That's not the stuff that's going to bring down the sentence here. This is again, it's not quite cops and robbers, if you will, but it is what matters in the situation is the fact that you entered this room when you shouldn't have.
Yeah.
What you brought in, outside of it being an actual weapon, is immaterial. What you said to them is immaterial because you entered this room that you shouldn't have been in.
Yeah. And Hutch says, as hard a time as MLS and Pro have with referee recruitment and development, the refs at least need to know that MLS will have their back in these situations. And what's MLS going to sit there and discuss with the PSRA? Where the MLSPA wants Major League Soccer to come out and publicly denounce what these material falsehoods have been. But once again, look, until the MLSPA comes out and says that these are the material falsehoods. This is what we said previously. Here's our evidence to indicate that these are falsehoods. I can't all I'm going to do is sit here and say that this is what the MLSPA said, and where's the detail? It's like literally, you're lacking in evidence with your argument, counselor. I need more detail here when it comes to this discussion, and it's going to drive me crazy, and I'm sure it's going to drive others crazy. Rich, I know Pro owns MLS, but isn't there a separation between the two to keep their individuality? I think that's probably where the PSRA comes in.
So PRSA is the union, if you will, for the referees.
Okay. So now that we're there, Bart, sorry to drag you in here for reffing down here on a Friday.
I think
I dragged myself into this. Yeah.
Yeah, Bart. We didn't drag Bart into this.
Bart's like link me.
Bart saw the ball on the field and went, "Yep."
Yeah.
I went face first down the slip and slide into this, so we're good.
Okay, so you're good to come back at 10 o'clock on Monday morning?
That is the plan.
Okay.
I will communicate with you to make sure, because as you know, I have a new schedule now. So.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it can be anywhere from 9:05 to 10:30 because we do prim and proper the review at 10:30.
Yes.
During the winter, so 9:05 to 10:30. Just let me know when, and that'll be your slot here in the winter months, and we can all discuss what's going on with reffing down here and such, because we're probably going to have reffing moments on the weekend that we can talk about. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we have 2 conference finals, and I'm sure nothing dramatic will happen in either of those.
My soul is ready for Cincy to lose this on a 93rd minute penalty. And it's going to be a judgment call where VAR can't factor in.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, did he actually? Yeah. Watch it be like something strange, like obstruction or impeding with contact, where it's like, well, you can't really say it wasn't. Or better yet, since he gets a game tying goal brought back because of offside, and it's because the player interferes with the goalkeeper, that type of situation,
Yeah.
But, that would be
Japan in the World Cup kind of play where the ball looks like it might have gone over the line.
Oh yeah.
Back. And then we have to explain to everybody that a ball is a sphere and is not an actual flat surface.
A ball is a sphere, and a line extends vertically upward into perpetuity, and those shapes don't exactly line up. Yeah. So, geometry and physics, fantastic.
You can't have that. All right, Bart. We'll see you Monday morning.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Bart Keeler. It's nothing like nothing like Bart sitting there going, "Okay, link me. I need in here now." Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. But and Rich once again making the promo that it's Hamburg Derby Day, and so there's a lot going on with all of this. What else is on your mind about this or about any of the other chaos that we have leading into the weekend, sir?
Um, honestly, because we talked about it yesterday with Nico about these games, and they should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like they should genuinely be fun.
Mhm.
It
Until
sucks that this kind of is overshadowing it a bit, but
until
like
Hell is Real has a decision like the one that you want. Oh,
well, apparently someone vandalized the Hell is Real billboard
yes.
and they had to repaint it.
Yeah.
Again, my favorite part of the Hell is Real billboard and the Hell is Real experience is they're like, hey, we made a rivalry based off this like crazy religious billboard that exists in between. I'm like, so you mean the thing like there's one every 2 miles south of Macon?
Yeah.
You made a rivalry based off a billboard. We got like 50,000 of those
Good
on
for
75, man.
Welcome to Region
It's just
7A.
I think it's a good name for it. I'm entertained by it.
Yes.
It is never not funny to me though. Those things are mutually exclusive here.
Cincinnati Columbus, your crew. Alan Chapman is your ref. Corey Parker, Nick Uranga are your ARs. Rosendo Mendoza is your fourth. Eunice Maracci is your VAR. Eric Weisbrod is your AVAR. Western Conference, Victor Rivas is the man in the middle. Logan Brown, Michael Barwagon are your ARs. Ismail Elfath is the fourth.
They are going to have Goldberg leaving the locker room level security around that referee's room, by the way.
Yeah. Well,
like banging on like Goldberg banging on the door, like walking him out. They are going to have that. By the way, I am still waiting at Atlanta United for Goldberg to do the spike and for you to do that.
Yes.
For you to take one of the in-stadium cameras for like tonight's Golden Spike, and we start the Golden Spike like 2-3 minutes earlier than usual. Tonight's Golden Spike, presented by American Family Insurance, whoever the hell's going to do it.
Yeah.
And you don't say the name. You just ready camera two, and
music.
camera 2 pops up on a door underneath the stadium, and you see the pop, pop, pop of the fist on it, and the door gets kicked open by Bill Goldberg, and then you follow him and the security out to the platform where he hammers the spike. You don't have to pay me for this idea, Atlanta United. I'm begging you to do it, though.
Oh, that'd be epic. Oh, that'd be amazing.
Just like the second the door kicks open, the music kicks on.
Yes. See, and you've got to do it for the right game too. What game are you picking here? Philly?
No.
Purple team?
I don't even have to be a specific game. I'm that one's just Rich. The music that's the thing, man. The music has to come on instantly.
Yes.
Like the very second you thump that door and the door kicks open and the music kicks immediately. All these cats live in Metro. Just about all those cats live in Metro Atlanta. I'm begging you to just you can have the idea for free, Atlanta. I'm begging you to do it. Give me Bill Goldberg and the spike. Hell, I'm still on the belief that you should be doing Diamond Dallas Page. Don't give him the hammer. Let him diamond cut the spike into place.
Oh, see if he diamond cut the spike 3 times, that'd be pretty cool. Let's see. Before we go, Tom is mentioning Orlando.
How far do you want me to take this off the rails? Because I have another idea.
Go for it.
David Arquette come and do it, and Diamond Dallas Page come out and do it, and we just redo Ready to Rumble.
There you go. Okay. Yesterday, Europa Conference League, going through some of the winners. A lot of the favorites won yesterday. PAOK had a 2-1 win at a plus 536. North Chelan put 6 on Fenerbahce at a plus 179. I'm looking for dogs that did well. HJK and Aberdeen yesterday in the Conference League. For those of you
that was drunk in the snow.
Yes, it was drunk in the snow. It was amazing.
Which is a terrible place to be drunk. You start rolling around in the snow, taking off your clothes, and the next thing you know, you're dead.
Yeah, because it's Helsinki, Finland, and it's like 20 degrees outside in a snowstorm. So a lot of the favorites won yesterday. in Conference League. And so going into Europa League yesterday, Tom has been trumpeting the goal from Aubameyang in the Marseille match against Ajax, which was also drunk at 4-3. Marseille got the win at a -179. A lot of draws yesterday. Our buddies from Karabag got a 2-2 draw to +281. Rangers and Aris Salonika to +468. Servette and Roma had a 1-1 draw. Jose Mourinho's pissed. Walking to a day that ends in Y at a +305. Toulouse and Royal Union at a +254. Another draw, Atalanta and Sporting at a +257. Biggest dog on the board to win yesterday was Rakov Shostakova beating Sturm Graz by the final of 1-0 at a +347. So on the advice of Tom, watch your highlights from Marseille and Ajax, a 7-goal drunken thriller. Let's see. In the juice boxes or the side items on your Christmas table, FC Cincinnati at home is a +124. And the 90-minute draw is a +248. Crew is a +212. What say you, Jarrett Smith?
You know what, man? Crew at +212 is a damn good number for a team that I have my anti-Columbus sentiments. Mostly because, like, when the Crew, for those of you of an SEC persuasion, when the Crew lose, never forget that is in the same city as a certain state university that happens to reside in Ohio that has named their mascot after a poisonous nut on a tree.
Yes.
One of the few things that is always funny in this world is when, like, Alabama fans are mad, because then Feinbaum is going to be like, can't miss entertainment.
Go to Monday.
Yeah, in the same way that, like, Feinbaum, I didn't listen to it because I'm a terrible human and I was lazy this week. Feinbaum was probably just in rare form Monday after the 4th and 31. My sympathies to your immediate family, John.
Yes, well, boss is still hot about it.
I don't blame her, because Hugh Freeze decided to rush 2 men and use a spy on Jalen Milroe, because you have to keep that spy there, because the other 8 defenders weren't going to stop him from getting 31 redacted yards.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
that's true. Yes.
There is a certain amount of joy to be found in, like, just the just when Alabama loses. It's always fun, unless you're an Alabama fan. But I'm not. So, and we always enjoy it because of Feinbaum reasons. In the same sense that one of my best friends, who is from Akron, Ohio, always says, when Ohio State loses, it's always enjoyable for the rest of Ohio. It is not a personal thing, Columbus, but the Crew happen to reside in the same damn city.
Yes.
So
there we go. And so I'm going Crew, and Rich is doing the Lord's work by giving Bill Goldberg's greatest entrance as a link on in the Twitch pitch. So
man, like, I already know I'm getting old, and I don't need to be reminded of that on a daily basis. My child does it for me. But when I say kids today don't understand,
no,
they don't.
No, they don't.
Like, man, that was the entrance.
Mm-hmm. That was absolutely
when WCW was the right amount of insane and stupid.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've got to go. Yes. It appears that the OG is putting some fruitcake on the 90-minute draw. I could see that definitely. Out west, LAFC and Houston Dynamo. I'm going Benny Ball at a +434. I'll take it. I'm with Glenn Davis here. I got to go with Houston at a +434. I've really got to.
Yeah, I'm taking Houston. We talked about it with Nico yesterday. What we talked about a little bit at the end of the show, and because I agree on both of these, the thing that gets interesting for me is how these games play out, because I think, and we talked about this with Atlanta and Columbus, and Atlanta didn't hold up their end of the bargain in Game 3. But I think the longer these games go, where it's scoreless, or even like if both of them score, the longer these games go where they are very, very close, I want to see how Cincinnati and I want to see how LAFC handle it.
Yeah.
We talked about it with Nico. Look, this is a different LAFC team than what Bob Bradley had built back in the day.
No doubt.
They function differently. They're more pragmatic. They're kind of more assholes than they were in the past too.
Yeah.
And not always likable. That's okay. And honestly, not even joking. That's okay. But how do they handle it when that game is close? Both of those games are close. So, because we know that Cincinnati has the firepower. We know Columbus has the firepower.
Mm-hmm.
Houston has that dog in them,
Mm-hmm.
in their very soul. How do they all handle it?
Mm-hmm. And OG's putting Divinity Candy on Houston at that plus 434. A couple of transactions before we go. We forgot to mention that Tom Barlow is heading from, apparently, allegedly, possibly, probably, from Red Bulls.
He is.
For like $400,000 in AM.
Somebody in New York gets a contract extension in the front office for pulling that one off. Also, Chicago, I need to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I need to know. I need you to explain yourself.
Yeah.
I need you to explain everything about yourself right now.
Stand on
because
the line and explain yourself.
Man, I don't know what they're doing.
They're keeping the wrong people under contract in the front office, maybe.
Maybe. I'm genuinely perplexed about whatever the hell it is they're doing. I have no clue.
And apparently Nashville has also agreed to acquire Drew Yearwood in a trade with Red Bulls. Obviously, the trade's been agreed to, but you can't process it until the 11th. Yearwood originally signed from Brentford as a young DP, 99 apps, and his team got one. So you've got Yearwood on the board, and also apparently Donovan Pines is out of contract and a free agent out of DC.
Come on down, Donovan.
Mm-hmm.
Big physical center back who was part of. I think he actually didn't he get a call in with the national team?
I think so. Yeah, he was in one of those.
I mean, big, physically gifted center back. Hey man, pull through.
Mm-hmm. DC has also mentioned the other folks that are out of contract, etc. And one of them is Yamil Assad. According to Stephen Goff, DC United now confirms Gone Assad, Eric Davis, Jacob Green, Brendan Hines-Ike, Eric Hurtado, Andy Nahar, Nigel Robertha, Donovan Pines, and Derek Williams.
I am a bit surprised that Pines is gone, but I mean, okay, so here's the thing, man. Pines kind of stagnated in his development. Because it's one of those things where like all of the tools are there and then some.
Yeah.
For Donovan Pines. But it really does feel like it really does feel like he kind of he stalled out in his development.
Yep.
Here's the question though that I ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that on him?
Yeah.
Or is
that on the system? On the combination of Rooney
and not even to say that Rooney's a bad coach, but it's been a rotating door of coaches. The man had we talk about this in American football with hey, so and so hasn't developed. Well, he's had 5 offensive coordinators in 5 seasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
At what point do we sit there and say, hey, maybe if that person had some consistency in their life, he might have actually done something more.
Yep. Red Bull's decisions exercised options on Cam Harper, Drew Yearwood. Obviously, we mentioned what's up with Yearwood, Wiki Carmona, and Marlowe. Declined options on Nosita and Dom, Reed, and Serwada. Exercised the transfer option on Kyle Duncan. So basically, they've re-signed Kyle Duncan after letting him go on a
I have questions about you, Red Bulls.
You're paying money to exercise a transfer option on Kyle Duncan after you let him go for nothing in the first place?
Rich, this is your forte, man. Like, you have we everyone has the floor to make fun of Red Bulls over this one because they let a guy go and then they decided, you know what, actually we're going to keep him.
Yeah.
So-
Fernandez out of contract, Cabezas loan expiring in the USL Championship. The Charleston Battery have announced their initial update for 24. 3 players under contract, options exercised on Fidel Barajas, who's going to get them a payday at some point. Robbie Crawford, Kuzemka, Markanich, Muse, Palma, and Rodriguez. Options declined on Andrew Booth, A.J. Patterson, Jesse Randall, Pierre Reedy. Mutual contract termination with Declan Wynn. Free agency, Aiden Apodaca, Leland Archer, who could come in handy for somebody. Handwalla Bwana, A.J. Cochran, who I believe announced his retirement. Derek Dotson, Joe Schmidt, Mark Segbers, and Augie Williams. Beto Avila returns to Houston Dynamo after his loan spell is complete in Charleston. So interesting names out of the Batteries rundown for their early run at 24. Rich, in discussing the folks on the Eastern Seaboard, DC is no spending team that saves money on not getting a good coach as long as the fan base still comes in and the casuals have something to do in Navy Yard. Red Bulls is at least admitting they kind of sort of want to do a rebuild and spend money. So we'll see what happens there. So that's your early stuff on the weekend. I know that we've got Prem and Proper is going to be released in a little while. We're going to hear from some of the coaches. We hear from Maddie. We hear from Drew for the 3D. So that'll be up and running. And God knows if something happens this weekend, we'll probably talk about it then too. So next week might be a little goofy when it comes to start times and things like that because of preparations for the high school championships. They're coming up in a week and a half on the 11th. We'll probably do power hours 11th, 12th, and 13th when the trade window opens before I have to race off to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So next 2 weeks will be interesting, but we will try to stick to our 905s as best we can because next week we've got Bart and Prem and Proper, the review on Monday in the show. Kevin Egan, Glenn Davis on Tuesday, 9:30 and 10 o'clock. Kevin Egan and Glenn Davis. That'll be fun. And we've also got some other folks that are going to be doing 1v1s with us. Remember, reminder, we're reissuing the Soccer City scarf. We're reissuing that to help out our friends in the Marshall Islands. Step 1 of a 2-step process. So once again, 25 and 5. Let us know about if you want one, and we will effort them to you, or the Abstermobile will drop them by. Jarrett, what else is on your mind before we go?
Honestly, not much. We are kind of in that mode now of everybody get ready. It's gonna be done.
Yeah, absolutely it is. So since you're over there, go ahead and send us home for the second day in a row.
Mucha plata, y'all.
What he said. So we'll be back at it again Monday morning. We'll chase after what happened this weekend. We'll know MLS Cup. We'll know a bunch of other things too. Maybe. If folks want to put modifiers and actually present evidence. So for Jarrett, for Bart, for Nick, for Jason, for everybody that's been here all week long, I'm just John. Mucha plata, y'all. Play it safe. It's the end of the show. That means we get to do this. We'll see you again Monday.